I'm not Ken Marsh, and June is his month for arranging speakers, and he couldn't be here today. And yesterday at 11:20, he got a call from the guest speaker, and the guest speaker said, "Ken, I can't come. I'm in the hospital in Norton with a severe case of the flu." So Ken and I put our heads together, and we thought Gary Stidham would be an outstanding speaker, one of our own. And I've been describing Gary as the luckiest man in local politics because if you've been following things here over the last few weeks, you'll know that Bud Hulsey decided that this would be his last term as a state representative from District 2. So Gary threw his hat in the ring, and he's a candidate for District 2, and he has no opposition. There's no one running against him, either Democrat or Republican, and we think he's going to win. So that's why I've been calling him the luckiest man, and maybe he didn't have any opposition because of his treasurer. I'm his treasurer. But be that as it may, Gary is just an outstanding American, and let me tell you a little bit more about him. Commissioner Gary Stidham has served on the Sullivan County Commission since 2018. He's the vice chairman of the executive committee and serves on the education, jail, and insurance committees. He currently serves as the chair of the State Veterans Committee for the Tennessee County Commissioners Association and serves on the TCCA Education Executive Committee and Local Government Committee. That's the Tennessee County Commission Association. He serves as vice chairman on the board of directors for Second Harvest Food Bank. Commissioner Stidham retired from the U.S. Navy as a chief petty officer after serving 20 plus years in various positions on board sea and shore commands. He's a graduate of Fort Hays State University with a master's degree in education and currently holds a Tennessee teaching license. He's been a Navy junior ROTC instructor for the past 22 years at Cherokee High School in Rogersville, Tennessee. The unit has been one of the top units in the nation, being recognized as a distinguished unit for 19 consecutive years. And he really has a fine unit. And many of you know that he's been rounding them up to volunteer to work the playground with us, the playground cleanup. And just a few weeks ago, they had their picture in the paper as being distinguished unit again. So he's done a great job. Gary's also active in the community, serving as an usher in his church, and he's also a member of several veterans organizations. He and his wife Molly just celebrated their 45th wedding anniversary and have 2 grown sons and 2 grandchildren. And of course, Molly's here with us today. She's a retired educator, and I'm glad she keeps track of Gary because he's a busy man. Please welcome Gary.
When Ken called me yesterday and said, "Hey, can you speak?" I said, "What happened in those meetings I missed? What did you guys do to tick Ken off that he dragged me up here?" But glad to be here today amongst friends. It's nice to look out and know that you got people that support you in your community. When Bud announced he was going to retire, we kind of knew a little bit ahead of time, and was talking to Bud, and I said, "Bud, I really like to run for your position." And he said, he just looked me square in the eye, and he says, "I got one hard question for you." He goes, "Gary, I can support you if you can answer this question. Will you fight to the death for the Constitution in Nashville if it comes to it?" I said, "Bud, I put my life on the line for 20 plus years to ensure that Constitution stays intact. So I don't have a problem going to Nashville and doing the same." So he just looked at me and smiled, shook my hand. So Bud is going to be a big mentor to me as we go along in this. My wife is kind of excited about this because I'd been talking about retirement, and she was sitting there. The last time I retired, I made it 2 whole weeks. We're sitting on the front porch swinging, and she looks at me and she goes, "What is wrong with you?" And I said, "What do you mean?" She goes, "You're fidgety all the time. You can't stop moving." I said, "I don't know what it's like to be at home at 4 o'clock in the afternoon with nothing to do." So she said, "That's real simple. You're going to go get a job." So, and 22 years later, I'm still at that job teaching. But it's one of those things. We think of the Constitution, and we think everything is going to be solid there. We think that nothing's going to break or cause a problem. Nobody's going to come overnight and change the Constitution. Well, you only have to remember back to COVID to know just how fragile our freedom really is. I mean, people being made to take shots that they didn't want to take. So that Constitution is a little more fragile than we thought before COVID, or at least it opened our eyes to it. My grandfather's generation had to live with the Nazis. So they kind of had a different outlook when it came to that flag flying out there. It was really close to their heart. And if you don't think we're still having those issues today, look at what's going on in Pennsylvania right now. One simple law that you're trying to pass in the state, which on the surface sounds great. Everybody would agree that if you got a gun and you've got it at home, you got small kids, you should have a trigger lock on it so it can't fire, right? But they're mandating in Pennsylvania that everyone that has a weapon has to have a lock in it all the time. Even if you got it in your house, it's your personal preference if you want to have a lock on it or not. To me, I wouldn't have a lock on mine in my house because, well, I got it there at the house for personal protection. So what good would it do to be walking around the street with a weapon that you have to unlock before you're done? The bad guys are going to have locks on theirs. But that's a small thing. Those little things chip away at our personal rights. And when in Pennsylvania, they're actually making it a misdemeanor if you do not use that at home. So if police officers pulled you over in your car, you have a permit, and you don't have it locked, you're going to jail. You're going to pay a fine. You're going to get out, and then that's your personal rights being chipped away little at a time. So when we look at the Constitution, we really have to think about every little bill that goes through Nashville. Is it chipping away at something that we're going to have? And that's what Bud kept just drilling me on. He goes, you got to watch every little thing. It's a little chip here, a little chip there, and before you know it, you've lost some personal freedoms. So one thing that people talk about when they come back, every year we host the legislators for breakfast over here, and they give us a rundown of what's going on in Nashville. And last year I was sitting out in the audience, and a friend of mine says, hey, you may be sitting up there next year. And I said, well, that would be a different view from sitting out here. But then I thought about it because they were talking about the bills they had passed, how many bills they had passed, and they had 2,000 bills coming through the House last year. So when you look at it, I'm like, we want less government in our life. How is passing 2,000 bills going through, taking less government out of our life? So I'd like to be able to stand over there next year and say, we got rid of 3 bills that were in your life. Now you don't have those in your life anymore, cutting, reducing whatever it may reduce in your freedoms. But if we pass a bill, it needs to be something that's not going to hurt us, but help us here at home. One of the things that we're definitely going to have to look at in Nashville is our educational funding. Our TISA funding isn't working out the way they thought it was. We're running short, and these county schools and the city schools are coming up short. So that's something that really needs some attention down in Nashville. And I know everyone with school choice have different opinions about things, but the funding mechanism that funds our county and city schools definitely needs some attention. And if you look at a couple things on that when it comes to education, when you look at higher education, the Hope Scholarship. The Hope Scholarship came out, that's $6,000 a year for a student to go to ETSU, a 4-year school. When that came out, I could send a student to ETSU, have one of my cadets go to school, and if they lived at home, they could go to school with 0 debt. No debt at all using the Hope Scholarship. Kept their grades up, kept their scholarship. It's $24,000 a year. That doesn't even come close now. If they live at home, they're still going to have student debt to pay that off. So that Hope Scholarship hasn't been raised in years. It's going to have to come up because every other year, tuition's going up. So that's one thing we could do to help out our kids as they're coming up and coming out of high school, going to school, going on to college. But increasing that, the money's there. They just need to increase it and get it going. Now, here's one that'll blow your mind. How many in here think that kids selling have helped a kid or had a grandkid that sold candy bars or popcorn tins or any of that stuff, their own dance team, band, whatever it may be? I have, trust me, as a coach, all the time we're selling something to raise money for the students to go somewhere. Back in about 2010, Tennessee decided that kids raising money for band uniforms shouldn't be buying candy bars and selling them without paying taxes on them. They reversed that. So we've got kids out here who have been working since that time, raising money for their programs, pay for trips, pay for band uniforms, whatever it may be, and they're paying taxes on it. It's hard enough for them to raise money now, but we think we need to take and reverse that and put that. Those one of those little things could help by taking that tax back off of it and put it for, if the high schools are purchasing it for resale, to raise money, they shouldn't have to pay sales tax on it. It's a simple one as that. And trust me, every coach out there in a little league, they're going to be happy about that if we can get them to do it. School resource officers currently now are grant funded. Back in 2018, in Sullivan County as a commission, we decided we were going to pay for them ourselves. This is long before everyone else. So Sullivan County set the standard for the rest of the state. We put a school resource officer on every single campus in the county. That cost us $800,000 in 2018. A few years later, the state got on board and came up with a grant program to fund one per school. And so we kind of got our money back on that on the county side of that, but that program is still as a grant. And as you know, grants can do what? They could go away tomorrow. And guess what? That would leave Sullivan County with about $1 million they would have to pay. That would be an instant hit on the budget that next year to pay for those. So those are one of those things we need to look at to get that put into a line item and put in the budget for the state as a regular reoccurring item. Another thing we can look at is we need a state grant to help fund cameras for school buses. The stop signs pop out. They do have cameras for some of them, but you need cameras to watch it, because if you ever seen on the news how many people run those red lights, and that's a kid that almost get hit every time when those happen. We have cameras on it. They're like, well, the bus driver could get the tag. If that car's speeding by, he's worried about where those kids are. Guess what he doesn't have time to do? Look and memorize a tag number that fast. So if we got cameras on those, that would be a safety thing that we could put out there to help. But it needs to be a grant. These poorer counties or even the cities can't afford to go put those on there all at once. It can be a very expensive cost right up front. In our transportation, you guys know we got a lot of transportation needs around here. If you just drive on the interstate or any of our highways right now, everything is potholes, potholes, potholes. And I think our mayor ran on potholes and increased the paving budget for the city, but that doesn't cover the highways and the state routes. The Memorial Boulevard, I don't know how many of you drive Memorial Boulevard, but I drive it every day. Nobody's complained. I haven't heard anybody complain because it's been 28 years. The first meetings were held at Sunnyside Church there in Cooks Valley in 1998. And now it's been 28 years to get funding to get that one project started, to finally get moving dirt this summer. That's just phase one is funded. So phase two on that, I'm not sure there'll be many of us around at that rate if we have to go 28 more years to get the second phase of that road done. So we're needing a lot of attention on roads up here and transportation. When you go out to Colonial Heights, Highway 75 going out to the airport, it's a kind of a funny thing. As soon as you get past come out of Sullivan County, hit the Washington County line, what's the road? It's all been done. It's been completed on both sides, all the way into Johnson City, right through Gray, everything. But then our half of it from there back into Colonial Heights, nothing. And we got needs that need to be done on that. Because when we put that road in, we're going to have to put in a larger water line out there. Right now, the fire hydrants out in that section of Colonial Heights, or Midway, whatever you want to call it, hardly has any water pressure at all. If we have a major fire out there, if they have to take a pumper truck out there to fight a fire, because the fire main doesn't have enough pressure on it to fight fires. So those little things go hand in hand when you go ripping up the roads and putting that through there. But when's that time going to come? It's time. That's a highly traveled road, and it's a dangerous road at times with the much traffic that's on it, especially when you have an accident on the interstate and it's backed up. And if you ever drive 26 in the morning, there's going to be an accident somewhere, and everybody gets off that can and drives in on 75. Economic development. That's one of those things right now that we need our fair share of the pie. West Tennessee got Ford. You got we got the gun one went down to Smith and Wesson, went down to Blount County. When is our piece of the pie coming? And we got Aerospace Park, and it's been sitting there. We've been trying to get it developed, but right now we're talking with the other legislators and working with the community leaders here. We're going to be sitting down this next week or so and discussing Aerospace Park and what we can do to get the state involved on economic development on that to get something rolling. So those are some of the big items like that to have. We got networks up here. I go to all those meetings. The mayor's there. He can tell you about that. Bill Summers there at those meetings. There's a lot of good things going, but we need some state help on some of this economic development because it's just a little bit too big for ours to be able to cover it ourselves here. But that takes people working together in the community. And right now, this might blow your mind on this. How many people think we have 100, 200 households that do not have utility water coming to them from a utility district? Would you believe it's 9,700 homes in Sullivan County do not have water provided by a utility district? That's hard to believe that in 2026, as modern as this area is, that we still have 9,700 homes without water. But that is very expensive infrastructure to put in, and these smaller utility districts like Bloomingdale, all those need help. So those are things we're going to have to reach out to the state and try to find some funding somewhere to help us get that. And some of those owners are asking for it. Sometimes you got to go blow cliffs off and everything else to put water lines in, but 9,700 homes, we need to be pushing hard on that. And this one, last year, Representative Sparks ran a bill that would take tax sales. There would be no sales tax on produce. He's talking about healthy living, that Tennessee's in this big push for healthier living. So he put in a bill that would take sales tax off of fruit. It failed in committee. And when you looked at the sticker price on that one, the physical note on it, it was pretty astronomical. So there was no way anybody was going to touch that or push it on through. But one thing I asked him when I was down there a couple of weeks ago before they adjourned, had he ever thought about just reducing it? And I didn't come up with that idea. Actually, my lovely wife says, hey, this is something you might want to take with you when you go down there. You don't have to abolish it, but if you could just reduce it a couple percent, every little percent helps for a family, especially when you talk about healthy living and produce and vegetables. So any questions on that so far? Well, I told you it would be a short one. So anybody got questions? Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Gary, is the state is there a movement to eliminate independent school districts like Kingsport, Bristol, and just go to 95 county school districts, period?
I haven't heard a whole lot on anything on that. I constantly joke when they first came out with this TISA funding that itself would drive consolidation of schools because it was cutting so much money out of the schools. And we're a very unique county because for Sullivan County, we've got Kingsport City Schools, Bristol City Schools, Johnson City Schools right here in the county. So we got those major school systems right here and then the county school. system. So we are one of very few that have multiple school districts still. Knoxville consolidated years ago. That is not a popular thing to stand in Kingsport, on the soil in Kingsport, and say, is we're very proud of our school systems in Kingsport and in Sullivan County. But the funding mechanism right now, I really believe, is trying to push us to that. Well, you mentioned one reason: unfunded mandates. When they pass a bill in Nashville that, hey, this is great, this is implementing a new rule, this is going to do this, and it comes down and it involves the sheriff's department, education, or how we do things in local government, guess what they're normally doing? They're increasing. It's going to cost us something at the county level to be able to implement that. So those unfunded mandates hurt us in the county level, and we need to cut the knees out of any of them that are coming up. Unless they're going to put the money with it to implement it, it needs not happen. So that's an easy vote for me. Anytime something's coming up, somebody may say, well, hey, that was a great idea. I can't believe you voted against it. I'll just look at them and say, no money attached. That's an unfunded mandate. They're taking money out of your pocket at the county level to implement that, and we just don't want that happening. We have enough things to pay for as it is. Anyone else got any other questions? I do not take running unopposed lightly. That's a pretty big mandate on me to go to Nashville and not mess up. Normally, if you go down and you mess up once, people forgive you. But when you're going down, when you're going down there, that puts a high bar for me. I'm going in behind someone that was there for 12 years and is highly respected in Nashville, highly respected at home. So I've got some big shoes to fill. And one last thing, just remember, Stidham means stewardship. So had to make sure I threw that in there. So.